Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining. It's just about 5. We're going to give a couple minutes for some other people to join the webinar before we get started. We have about 50 people registered, so we'll wait a couple minutes and then we'll jump right in and get going. All right, well, welcome, and thank you for joining us. We're excited to walk you through the How to Create Better Job Descriptions with ChatGPT and AI Tools webinar. I'm Josh Kiernan, and this is Mike Earp. We're co-founders of Mosh JD, an AI-powered job description software we've designed for busy HR teams. While we're going through this webinar, if you'd like to pull up ChatGPT on another screen, we're going to run this like a live workshop where we can actually go through and you can design the job description live throughout the webinar process.
Thanks, Josh. Just a quick question for the group and just a quick call out too. In terms of questions, happy to have you chat in questions. If you look at the bottom of the screen there, you'll see a chat option. Please do chat. I'll be able to see those and we'll stop along the way and answer any questions you have. Also, feel free to come off mute if you'd like. And then secondly, just curious, with the audience we have here today, how many people have tried or used ChatGPT or set up an account even just one time? If you would, in the bottom of the screen there, you should see a reaction button. Just give a thumbs up if you have. And for some folks, you'll see a more button and then reactions if you click on the more button. So just be curious if there's anybody in the team in the audience here that has. Yvonne, thank you for that. Looks like we have Debbie, Dawn, thank you. So a few of you, that's great. Perfect. All right, well, Josh, we're ready to kick off. Appreciate it.
Awesome, great. All right, well, so let's get started. So here's what you can expect to learn in this webinar today. So first, we're going to go over 5 prompt writing steps to get you started. So prompt engineering, or the process of designing a prompt, is really a key component to get quality job description results from ChatGPT. The output is only going to be as good as the input. So we're going to take you through a 5-step process to design a quality prompt for a job description. While we walk through, we'll take a brief second after each step so that you can try this live as well on your separate screen. And then from there, we'll cover 3 ways to use ChatGPT to improve the job description further. We'll then go into custom ChatGPTs, which were built for HR and for job description specifically. And we'll cover what those are in a bit, but that is essentially a customized version of ChatGPT that was designed by an individual. And then lastly, we will go into some additional AI tools that enable you to scan, grade, and then store job descriptions ultimately when they're completed. Quick reference note, we do understand that there are different types of job descriptions, for internal purposes, for external to posting to job boards. We're going to talk about the job description in this webinar in a general sense. And then it's a quick disclaimer as well. Mike and I are not labor attorneys. So, this is only for informational purposes. You always want to review the results from ChatGPT to make sure that they're compliant before using. So for the individuals in the group who are new to ChatGPT, a couple navigational items to cover. We're going to be operating mostly in this prompt bar here. Just a quick note, sometimes ChatGPT does get bogged down based on its usage. So we decided to put in screenshots and GIFs for this webinar, but you can follow along, as I mentioned, on a separate screen live in the tool. We'll be using this prompt bar. The results will come on this main screen here. And if you have ChatGPT 4, this is where you'll have your custom ChatGPTs saved and can explore new ones, which we'll get into in a bit. Now, if you don't have an account set up yet, we do have a short guide for that we can send to you. Just send us a quick DM after the call. We'd be happy to share that with you and help you get started.
Yeah, or just send a chat into the Zoom link and I'll take an email. It's just like setting up a Gmail account or Yahoo account. So very easy to get set up and we can help you with that.
Great. All right, so step one, we want to define the job title and the desired outcome. So ChatGPT's knowledge base consists of an aggregate of data that's comprised from books, from websites, articles, different job listings, and other public text. So because of that, you want to make sure you're using an industry standard recognized title to give yourself the best results possible back in its output. If you use a non-industry title, you're really going to be limiting your results as far as the data sets go. And you want to make sure you're giving yourself the best foundation to start off of for a job description. Now, for recruiting efforts, we also know based on research that 36% of people who search for jobs out on job boards typically use a title in their search that they're familiar with as a keyword to find postings. So from your talent acquisition initiatives, you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity to hit that candidate pool. You also want to be specific with your desired outcome. So for example, do we want an internal job description? Are we writing a job posting for a job board? Do we want to have 5 skills listed versus 10? In general, in these prompts, the more descriptive you can be with your desired outcome, the better the results are going to be as well. Next, we want to convey or query for our job skills. So there's likely going to be 2 sets of folks in this meeting. The first are going to be folks who have don't have job skills identified already. And if that is your case, you can use ChatGPT to query and ask for those results, and it'll provide you, a brainstormed list of job skills. If you are somebody who has determined those job skills for the role, you can enter those, or you want to enter those into ChatGPT to make sure that it includes them in the job description and then emphasizes their importance. Use caution though when you're using ChatGPT because it tends to elaborate and it'll generate a list of different skills, some that might not be relevant. It may miss some that you want to include. So always, again, as a best practice, make sure you review the results and edit them accordingly. Step 3 is we want to define our qualifications. So as I mentioned earlier, ChatGPT's data sets are an aggregate of comprised data. And because they are over a year old, what we've seen is that if you give a generic prompt, like write me a job description for a sales representative, ChatGPT does tend to lean towards a traditional, qualification and education-based job description. So if you're in the process of moving towards a skills or competency-based model where you're going to be shifting away from the education-based traditional job descriptions, you want to make sure that you include that in your prompt or use feedback loops, which we'll talk about in a bit, to hone in your results to get the desired outcome. You also want to avoid using jargon or cliches, as ChatGPT is programmed to actually mimic your tone, verbiage, and style. So for example, instead of in this example I have here, looking for an enterprise sales representative saying, I'm looking for someone who's a team player, I would want to say something to the effect of collaborates with cross-functional teams, especially finance and legal.
A question on the chat, Josh. So question is, what measures are in place to ensure privacy or security of your data inputs? I don't know what ChatGPT has for data security, but I would treat it, or we treat it here, and customers that we work with treat it as if it's like Google. So, if you're putting in a prompt, you might want to remove your company name, or maybe swap that out for like an industry name. So just treat it like, it's a free text service, like a social media site, and don't put any sensitive data into it, and you'll still get great results.
Great. Any other questions, Mike, or?
No, that's it.
Great. All right, so step 4, prompt for JD type and readability. So you really want to be specific here with the type of document you're looking for. ChatGPT has the ability to, write with a tone and purpose in mind. If you prompt it to say, I want an internal job description, a position description, or a job posting for a job board, it'll alter the structure and the tone that it uses. And you can also ask ChatGPT as well, if you're not writing a whole job description, but say updating a specific section, to write individual pieces of that job description. So for example, if I just wanted to update the job skills only in a job description, I can ask for that specific section and get those results. Also, you want to direct ChatGPT to write for the specific grade level if you want to factor in readability into your job description. And then step 5 is to set tone and structure. So give direction to ChatGPT on how the document is to be formatted and sound. So for example, do I want to focus on a set of skills? Do I want the job description architecture to include certain sections? Do we want sections to be more in a bulleted format, or do you prefer paragraphs of descriptive text? You really can direct ChatGPT in great detail to be able to format the document as you need it. And you can also include directives like I have here to keep an inclusive tone in mind when writing the job description. Now, that's not going to alleviate the need to review the job description. It's always recommended. ChatGPT is programmed by humans, so it has inherent bias embedded into the system, but it is a way, to give ChatGPT a direction to try to limit that. So at this point, with the 5 steps, you should be ready to generate your job description. So we can do that here in just a minute. I'll give everyone a second if they wanted to, on their other screens, finish up their prompts, and we'll generate the job description. All right, so once you're ready, just hit the arrow to generate the job description. And as you can see here in the GIF that I put on the screen, I've used the exact prompt in the example, and ChatGPT is writing now an enterprise technology sales rep job description. So again, you always want to review this for accuracy. What we found is that ChatGPT gives you a great foundation to get you started. But as a client said to us, it's really a skeleton framework. It has to be edited, refined, reviewed for accuracy, shared with internal stakeholders to better collaborate it, and then customized to your brand and culture. It's also a great tool to give you a foundation or a base level job description for jobs that you've never had before. So great starting point to be able to develop that and then further refine. And you can, make those your own and have them published and ready to use. Anyone have any questions?
None in the chat.
All right, great.
Hey, Josh, just one thing on my mind here that before we go to the next slide, I think it's good to call out. We're just doing one job description in the ChatGPT tool here today. But if you're doing job descriptions at scale, it's good to have a framework where you have a section by section breakdown that's consistent across as many job descriptions as you can make it. So instead of using ChatGPT to create a job description from front to back, you can also use prompts to just give you a section of a job description and go section by section. So it's really flexible in that sense, and that way you can build your job descriptions according to the section or templates that you have for your organization. So I just wanted to give a quick call out there since we're not showing that.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Mike. So we do have a question in the chat from Monica. Say you have a job description, but you want to make changes to it. Great question. It goes right into our next segment here. this is where you really can take your use of ChatGPT to the next level. So feedback loops, the system has the ability to make as many refinements as you'd like it to. And you can do that through feedback loops two ways. So you can provide, copy and paste a job description in here. So Monica's question was, how do I ask for improvements? You copy and paste the job description in here and then prompt it using that 5-step guide. Or if you have ChatGPT 4, you'll have this paperclip here where you'll be able to upload PDF and Word documents. And then you can prompt ChatGPT to say, make suggestions on how we can improve this job description. And we're looking at XYZ sections, and really use that template step-by-step guide that we'll send you after the call to develop a prompt to get the result you want. You also can use feedback loops in the scenario that I have here. So in this example, if I wasn't happy with the first result that I generated for the enterprise sales role, I can ask ChatGPT to make it more concise, add different sections like for physical job requirements, add or remove bullets for duties and responsibilities, provide more context. In the example that I put in the salary and compensation section was pretty limited. So I can prompt it to make all those adjustments and then include what I would like them, ChatGPT, to include in that section if I have that data. When you upload the job description, if you have ChatGPT 4 with the paperclip, what ChatGPT will do is scan the document and analyze it based on your request. In the example that I'm showing here, what I did is, this is a feedback loop I used, and I asked ChatGPT to make a job posting off of the internal job description that I initially created. So getting that alternative document that I can use to post out to job boards with the same level of information to convey that job to candidates. Another question in the chat is, we said ChatGPT 4, is that a paid service? Yes, it is. So if you look at, let me go back here. I'll go back to our slide 5. Or actually, we have to go back to our first slide. You look at the screen here. So by default, when you sign up for ChatGPT, you'll have version 3.5, which is the free version. If you decide to upgrade, you get ChatGPT 4, which includes the ability to use custom ChatGPTs, which we're going to get into in here in a second, and then be able to upload those documents for analysis. So at this point, has anyone generated a job description, and would they like to share what they liked or didn't like about what the results were? And if you want to come off mute, please feel free. Monica, you're welcome. What do you think, Mike? What are some of the things I could have done better? Or Joe, are you going to weigh in?
Yeah, Joe and Zach. I didn't do one just now, but I've conducted exercises like you're doing here, and I've often needed to ask it refining questions, or I've asked it to change its tone. I've asked it to increase levels of detail. I've asked it to talk more in like everyday language. I've asked it to, I don't know if it makes a difference, and I'd love to hear your insights. I've asked it to act as my consultant, act as an expert. I've asked it to go out and search whatever is available as like like a source of content.
Yes.
To provide answers. I think that helps.
Yep.
I've also given it a style guide, like I work for a consulting firm, and we would create style guides or write like an overarching document to act as principles for developing descriptions. And I would feed that initially and essentially try to train ChatGPT to use that guide for the output. And I found that to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, those are some great examples, Joe, of how you can really, get pretty advanced with ChatGPT and give it very detailed direction. So, for our example here, for the purposes of this webinar, we tried to keep it, pretty basic as far as the steps that we took, and some of the prompts you saw. I could have even, to be honest, improved and been more specific, but I didn't want to have it be, too overwhelming. But to your point, yes, as you start to get more used to ChatGPT, the capabilities that it has, those are great points. You're giving it specific direction. You're really training it on what you're looking for, and it does affect the results. I mean, I've used it in specific cases where there's something highly technical that I'm trying to understand, in terms of back end for what we do at Mosh for our software, and I've literally asked it to explain to me as if I was 3 years old. And ChatGPT will come back with a metaphoric example of playing on the playground, and here's how this works, so I can understand it. So those are great tips, and you can certainly use all of those, deploy them as you get more acclimated with ChatGPT. And one of the things, Joe, that you might like is GPTs. When we get to that slide here just in a minute, if you upgrade to ChatGPT 4, you can actually go in and program ChatGPT with instructions to create a custom GPT that's fit for a specific use case. And you can feed it, documents, you can feed it instructions, you can even feed it code to be able to access in its knowledge base. So then instead of just having the generic standard set of data that ChatGPT has, it's able to now have an enhanced version that you've provided it additional data sets that now it can access when you're giving it prompts. So that might be something that, if you're using ChatGPT the way you are now, you could subscribe to and maybe even create your own GPT for a specific use case if you haven't done that already.
Thank you. It's a good tip.
No problem. Thanks for volunteering.
One more call up before I go to the next slide. I think one of the stories I heard from a customer was we asked it to generate a list of skills for a specific job, or essential skills or essential functions, and it lists like 20 or 30. So it's a great brainstorming tool, but if you want to limit it, you can just say limit it to 5. But if you want a brainstorming tool, you don't limit it, and you'll get a full list, and you can bring that back to your team and talk about which best fit your role in your organization. So it can be overwhelming if you don't limit it, but that could be a good thing in certain circumstances. So thanks, Josh.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks, Joe. All right, so now that you've drafted the job description, to go over 3 ways that you can improve it, first is to write the job description and then use feedback loops to keep enhancing the results. So similar to what Joe just mentioned, you can keep giving it to commands and feedback loops to keep making the job description better. You also have the ability, like I mentioned, with ChatGPT 4, you can upload documents, PDF and Word, and then ask ChatGPT to analyze that data and perform, an output with the data based on the prompt that you write. And thirdly, you might subscribe to a job description software. If you do, job description softwares like Mosh JD typically do include AI tools embedded in them, as well as internal collaboration tools, version history, and some other AI scanners. You can see the screenshot here. We've actually included ChatGPT into our tool, and this gives our clients the ability to add the whole text or specific sections live into the editor so they can use that data as they're building their job description. Joe, I saw you come off mute. Did you have another comment or question?
Sorry, I think I fat fingered it. Thank you.
So before we get into to GPTs, custom GPTs, just a quick review of some do's and don'ts when using ChatGPT. So after this call, we're going to send you the step-by-step guide to developing prompts. We also have a database of some sample prompts that we've put together for job descriptions and some others, and part of the hiring process. If you're developing competencies, we have some prompts for that as well. So do use that as you're designing your prompts. Be careful, as we mentioned, to review and edit ChatGPT's results. It's not always accurate. As Mike said, it tends to give you a lot of information. You want to scale that down. Use feedback loops to continue to enhance the result. And use internal collaboration as well. Get that first draft, get it out to your team, make sure everyone reviews it to see if it's accurate, and establish version controls, before use to make sure that people aren't using different versions of the job description. Those are some things that we've embedded into our tool to make that easy to collaborate through, a simple hyperlink, and then all version history is tracked. Be careful not to copy and paste raw results. We've heard some horror stories where that can get you in some trouble. Skip peer reviews, don't do that as well. Be careful not to use non-inclusive language. As I mentioned earlier, ChatGPT will mimic your tone and your style, so you just want to be careful there. And then do not use results outside of your job description process. So custom GPTs, as I started to mention earlier, so these are ChatGPT versions that individuals can customize, and that's done by adding data to its knowledge base. So you can upload files, documents, give ChatGPT code, and it can access all of that data on top of its already established data sets in its prompts. So I've actually put together a list here of, you can explore GPTs. There's hundreds of them out there. You can create them on your own. And I've actually listed a couple that I've saved that I really like that are for, HR and specifically around job description management. So the top one here is actually the screen that I showed, Talent Competency Framework. This was designed to help organizations, develop a competency framework and competency matrices. As you see here, I've asked it just to develop one for me for a sales representative, and it's providing me a step-by-step process on how to actually develop that matrix, and then giving me a sample. As mentioned earlier, we don't want to use this verbatim. This is just an example, but it does give you a good framework to get started with that project. This was configured by somebody who added data to ChatGPT to make this possible. The others I have on the list here, Job Description Creator and Optimizer, are versions that have additional data in them to be able to generate job descriptions, so a more advanced version of what we just went through. And then Talent Architect is a cool GPT that allows you to ask questions around skills assessments, developing a skills database, developing a talent development plan, and things of that nature. Any additional questions on GPTs? Sure. So we have a question in the chat. Can you show how to access these already built GPTs from the top? So this Explore GPTs icon will be on the top left of your ChatGPT screen when you upgrade to ChatGPT 4. And you're able to click on this and search for custom ChatGPTs. They give you categories. They give you, the option to search for keywords. So if you went into Explore and search for these that I have here, you'd be able to find them. But you can also search, by discipline, and, you can scan the whole library. For somebody like, Joe, who's used a lot of these different data sets and has actually provided resources to ChatGPT to be able to, get an output. Joe, you might be able to actually go in and create one of these on your own, give it instructions, provide that data set that you mentioned, and then create your own. And you can make it public or private.
So just a quick call out. One of our clients said this is kind of like an app store for ChatGPT. So you can go out, search for the different GPTs just like you would on an app store on your phone, and then bring it into your ChatGPT instance. So really easy to use, and that's only available with the ChatGPT 4. So if you're using the free version of GPT, you won't see this option in your screen.
Yeah, and if you go to my account on ChatGPT, there's different options for an individual subscription or team. They have different prices there, but for an individual version, it was pretty cost effective. I think it was around $20 a month or something like that. So some other AI tools I wanted to call out because I thought they were a great help for job descriptions and specifically, you know, for HR and compensation professionals when creating them is AI-based scanners. So there's a couple of them available on the market. And what these will do is they will analyze tone, they will analyze readability metrics, word count, and then provide you, you know, recommendations or flags for DE&I hygiene, tone of language in your job description. So this screenshot here is actually a screenshot of our job description editor. And in this skills competencies, you know, section that we've created, we have a screenshot here showing the reading level, word count, characters, some recommendations for DE&I, tone of voice, things of that nature. There's also some other standalone tools available that are free that you can access. A good one to call out is JobVite's Job Grader. If you go to their website, you have to do individual at a time, but you can upload a job description. It gives you similar metrics that we have here. Same thing with Hemingway. If you've used that before, it's more geared towards writing. So there's more of a focus there on grammar and, you know, word count and tone, and then similar with Grammarly as well. But those both, I believe Grammarly does include the D&I hygiene. I'm not sure about Hemingway. So how can you get started using AI or, you know, move forward with continuing to use AI to create better job descriptions?